The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of life and energy. For 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. But in the waning days of the Clone Wars, that ancient bond would reveal a conspiracy so vast, so insidious, that it threatened to destroy the Order from within. What if, in those final desperate hours before Chancellor Palpatine's endgame, the Jedi discovered the truth? What if they found Order 66 and deleted it? The rain on Kamino fell in sheets, hammering against the sterile white corridors of Tapoka City like the drumbeat of an approaching storm. Jedi Master Shaak Ti stood in the cloning facility's central observation tower, her montrals sensing disturbances in the Force that had grown stronger with each passing day. For months, she had felt it, a shadow creeping through the minds of the clone troopers, something that didn't belong. Master T. The voice belonged to CT 5385, a clone medic who had requested this meeting in secret. His hands trembled slightly as he held a datapad. I need to show you something. Something that could get us both killed. Shaak Ti turned from the observation window. Her Togruta features calm, but her eyes sharp with concern. Speak freely, trooper. Whatever troubles you troubles the Force itself. The clone medic, who insisted she call him, Ladder, pulled up a series of medical scans on the datapad. 3 weeks ago, we had a malfunction in Base 7. Clone trooper. CT 9844 had a seizure during a routine examination. When we scanned his brain, we found this. He zoomed in on an image showing a small, organic mass embedded deep in the brain tissue. At first, we thought it was a tumor. But then we found the same mass in every single clone we scanned. Every single one. Shaak Ti's breath caught. She reached out with the Force, touching the edges of Ladder's mind, sensing no deception, only fear, confusion, and a desperate need for answers. What is it? A biochip, implanted during the cloning process. Ladder's voice dropped to a whisper. It's not in any of our medical records. Someone went to great lengths to hide it from us. When I tried to access the Kaminoan archives to learn more, I found a file buried under 7 layers of encryption. He swiped to another screen. Master T. It's labeled Contingency Order 66. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Shaak Ti knew of the contingency orders, protocols designed for extreme circumstances during the war. But Order 66 should have been accessible to Jedi generals. This level of secrecy meant something was terribly, catastrophically wrong. Can you access the file? She asked, her hand instinctively moving to her lightsaber. Ladder nodded grimly. I already did. Master, you need to see this. He played the recording. The voice that emerged from the datapad was cold, mechanical, unmistakably that of a Kaminoan administrator. Contingency. Order 66. In the event of Jedi officers acting against the interests of the Republic, and after receiving specific orders verified as coming from the Supreme Chancellor, commanders will remove those officers by lethal force, and command of the Grand Army of the Republic will revert to the Supreme Chancellor until a new command structure is established. The word struck Shaak Ti like a physical blow. Removed by lethal force. Every clone in the Grand Army, millions of loyal soldiers who had fought beside the Jedi for 3 years, carried a hidden directive to murder their generals on command. The biochip would ensure compliance, overriding loyalty, friendship, even free will itself. When I dug deeper, Ladder continued, his voice breaking, I found the activation protocol. It doesn't require Senate approval. It doesn't require evidence of treason. It only requires one man's word. He met her eyes. The Supreme Chancellor. Shaak Ti's mind raced. Chancellor Palpatine had amassed unprecedented emergency powers during the war. The Jedi Council had grown increasingly uneasy with his reluctance to relinquish them. And now this, a hidden kill switch embedded in the brain of every clone trooper, waiting for Palpatine to pull the trigger. How many others know? She demanded. Just us. I haven't told my brothers. I don't know who might be. He struggled with the word. Compromised. The chip could be activated individually, in groups, or all at once. We're walking bombs, Master T. All of us. The Togruta Jedi closed her eyes. Reaching out through the Force, she touched the minds of the clones stationed throughout Tapoka City, bright, loyal, dedicated souls, each one unique despite their identical genetics. And beneath their consciousness, she sensed it now, the shadow she'd been feeling for months, dormant, waiting. Hey, cancer in the Force itself. We need to contact the Council immediately, she said, her voice steady despite the horror churning in her gut. But first, we need proof that can't be denied or erased. Can you download everything? The medical scans, the activation protocols, the Kaminoan files? Ladder was already moving, his fingers flying across the datapad. I'm encrypting it with a Jedi security code. Once it's done, I'll transmit it directly to you. But Master, he hesitated. If Palpatine is behind this, and he finds out we know, then we're already dead. Shaak Ti finished grimly. Which is why we move quickly, and we move carefully. The fate of the Jedi Order, the fate of the entire Republic, depends on what we do in the next few hours. The datapad chimed softly. The download was complete. Shaak Ti took the device, feeling its weight like the burden of the galaxy itself pressing down on her shoulders. Outside, the Kamino rain continued its relentless assault, as if the planet itself wept for what was to come. She activated her encrypted comlink. The signal scrambled through 7 different Republic channels to mask its origin. This is Jedi Master Shaak Ti on Kamino. I need an emergency session of the Council. Priority, Alpha Red. What I've discovered. She paused, choosing her words carefully. What I've discovered will change everything. The war, the clones, the Chancellor, all of it has been a lie. And we're running out of time. As she waited for the response, Shaak Ti looked out at the endless ocean, the storm clouds gathering on the horizon. Somewhere on Coruscant, Palpatine sat in his office, weaving his web of deception. Somewhere across the galaxy, Jedi Masters led clone troopers into battle, unaware that their most loyal soldiers carried death in their skulls. But now the Jedi knew, and knowledge, Shaak Ti reflected, was the one weapon the Sith had not anticipated. The game had changed. The question was whether they could move fast enough to survive it. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant stood as it had for millennia, its spires reaching toward the sky like fingers grasping for truth. But in the Council chamber at its heart, truth had become a weapon that could destroy everything the Jedi had built. The holographic projectors hummed to life, casting blue-tinged images of Council members across the galaxy into the circular room. Master Yoda's ears drooped as he absorbed the information. Mace Windu's jaw clenched so tightly it seemed his teeth might shatter. Impossible, Master Ki-Adi-Mundi breathed, his binary brain struggling to process the implications. The clones have fought beside us for 3 years. They've saved our lives countless times. And they'll kill us the moment Palpatine speaks the words. Shaak Ti replied via hologram from Kamino, her voice cutting through the denial like a lightsaber through durasteel. The biochip overrides their free will. I've confirmed it with the medical scans. Every clone in the Grand Army carries this abomination. Mace Windu leaned forward, his dark eyes burning with controlled fury. You're certain the activation protocol requires only the Chancellor's authorization. The Kaminoan files are explicit. No Senate oversight. No judicial review. Just one man's word. Shaak Ti's hologram flickered as she transmitted another data packet. I'm sending you the encrypted files now. But Masters, there's something else. The Kaminoans didn't design this on their own. The inhibitor chips were commissioned and paid for by someone outside the Republic military structure. Who? Obi-Wan Kenobi asked, though his voice suggested he already feared the answer. The files are redacted, but the payment trail leads to a Sith intermediary, someone who died years before the Clone Wars began. Shaak Ti paused. Count Dooku's master. The silence in the council chamber was absolute. Master Yoda's eyes closed, his ancient face collapsing into lines of profound sorrow. Long has the Sith Lord hidden among us. Clear, at last, the path becomes. The dark side clouds everything, but this. Prepared for this, we were not. Palpatine, Mace Windu said flatly, the name dropping like a stone into still water. It has to be. He's the only one with the political power to orchestrate something of this magnitude. The emergency powers, the prolonged war, his resistance to peace negotiations. He's been positioning himself to activate Order 66 from the beginning. Plo Koon's hologram materialized, his mask unable to hide the tension in his body language. Masters, I'm currently aboard the Triumphant with the 104th Battalion. If what Master T says is true, I'm surrounded by men who could kill me at any moment, as are all of us leading troops in the field. As am I, added Luminara Unduli from her position on Kashyyyk. But these men are not our enemies. They're victims of Sith manipulation. We must find a way to remove the chips before Palpatine discovers we know. Anakin Skywalker's hologram appeared last, transmitting from his position aboard a Republic cruiser. His expression was troubled, conflicted. The Chancellor wouldn't do this. I know him. He's been like a father to me, to the Republic. There must be another explanation. Skywalker, Mace Windu's voice carried a warning edge. Your friendship with Palpatine has concerned this council for years. We need you thinking clearly now, not with your emotions. I am thinking clearly. Anakin shot back. We're talking about accusing the Supreme Chancellor of treason based on encrypted files that could have been planted by separatist agents. If we're wrong, if we move against him without absolute proof, we'll tear the Republic apart ourselves. Obi-Wan interjected calmly. Anakin, Master Ti's evidence is substantial. The biochips exist. The activation protocol exists. We must act on. Act on what? Anakin's frustration bled through the hologram. Suspicion? Fear? That's what the Sith want. For us to become paranoid. To strike first and ask questions later. That's not the Jedi way. Neither is allowing our own soldiers to murder us in our sleep. Mace Windu retorted. The Council will decide our course of action, Skywalker. In the meantime, maintain your position and wait for orders. Before Anakin could respond, Yoda raised his Jimmer stick, commanding silence. Agree. I do. That careful we must be. But act we must also. 3 things we will do simultaneously. First, verify the evidence ourselves. Master Windu, to Kamino you will go with Master T. Examine the chips. Confirm the medical data. Leave no doubt. Mace nodded grimly. Understood, Master. Second, Yoda continued. Begin removing the chips we must, but quietly. Draw no attention, raise no alarms. Master Kenobi, medical facilities on your ship you have. We do. Obi-Wan confirmed. But removing chips from hundreds of thousands of clones will take months, perhaps years. We don't have that kind of time. Then we prioritize, Shak Ti interjected. The clones closest to Jedi Masters. Those in positions of command. Those on Coruscant near the temple. We create a network of freed soldiers who can help us extract others. Risky, this plan is, Yoda acknowledged. But alternatives, we do not have. Which brings me to the third action. Confront the Chancellor, someone must. The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Anakin's hologram flickered with agitation. Master Yoda, if we accuse him and we're wrong. If we fail to act and we're right. Kit Fisto interrupted. The Jedi Order ends tonight. Enough. Mace Windu's command cut through the chaos. Master Yoda, you're suggesting we confront Palpatine before we've removed the chips? Before we have absolute proof. Proof we have, Yoda replied. Absolute. It is not, but sufficient to demand answers. If innocent he is, explain he can. If guilty, the ancient Jedi Master's eyes opened, blazing with determination. Then prepared for that outcome. We must be. Plo Koon's hologram shifted. Masters, I must point out the tactical reality. Even if we begin removing chips immediately, Palpatine could activate the order at any moment. We're in a race where our opponent doesn't know he's competing. The moment he suspects we know, he'll trigger Order 66 while most of the clones are still compromised. Which is why we move on all fronts simultaneously, Mace Windu said, his mind clearly calculating angles and contingencies. Master Yoda and I will request an audience with the Chancellor. Tomorrow morning, early, before he's had time to prepare. We'll cite concerns about his emergency powers and the extended war. We'll gauge his reaction, press him on inconsistencies. If he's truly Darth Sidious, he won't be able to completely mask his intentions from 2 council members working in concert. And if he attacks you? Luminara asked quietly. Then we'll have our proof, Mace replied darkly. And the Senate will witness a Sith Lord exposed in the heart of the Republic. Anakin's hologram flickered with barely contained emotion. This is madness. You're going to confront the Supreme Chancellor based on circumstantial evidence while the galaxy is at war. Do you have any idea what this will do to morale? To the Republic's stability? Do you have any idea what Order 66 will do? Obi-Wan countered, his voice sharp. Anakin, I understand your loyalty to Palpatine, but the evidence is clear. The chips exist. The kill order exists. Whether Palpatine is behind it or not, we must act. Master Kenobi speaks wisdom. He does, Yoda said. Anakin, your assignment this is. Return to Coruscant immediately. With you, bring Commander Cody and Captain Rex. Trust them you do, yes? Anakin's expression softened slightly. With my life. Then with their lives, we will begin. Remove their chips first. If successful, they can help remove others. Create a chain of freed soldiers. Yoda's ears lifted slightly. But tell them why you must. Honesty, they have earned. Deception, we cannot afford. The young Jedi Knight nodded slowly, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. I'll tell them. But masters, if you're wrong about the Chancellor, then apologize. We will, Yoda finished. But wrong, I do not believe we are. Strong in the Force, the darkness has become. Hidden in plain sight, the Sith Lord has been. And patient. So very patient. Shocked Ti's hologram intensified. Masters, one more thing. The Kaminoans have been monitoring this facility's communications since. I accessed the restricted files. I suspect they've alerted someone off-world. We may already be out of time. As if summoned by her words. Alarms began wailing throughout the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Mace Windu spun toward the chamber entrance as temple guards burst through. Their yellow lightsaber pikes ignited. Masters, the lead guard shouted. Emergency transmission from the Senate. The Chancellor has been attacked. He's calling for Jedi protection immediately. He's specifically requesting Anakin Skywalker. The council members' holograms froze, each one processing the terrible implications. Either Palpatine had been genuinely attacked by separatist agents at the worst possible moment, or a trap. Mace Windu breathed. He knows. Yoda's eyes closed. Begun, the endgame has. The Republic medical frigate Restoration hung in orbit above Coruscant, its sterile white corridors, humming with the quiet efficiency of wartime operations. In Operating Bay 3, Anakin Skywalker stood beside a surgical table where Captain Rex lay unconscious, his helmet removed, his face peaceful in medically induced sleep. Beside him, Commander Cody occupied a second table, similarly sedated. The clone medic who had agreed to perform the procedure, CT-6116, who went by Kix, worked with steady hands and a grim expression. How long? Anakin asked, his voice tight with tension. Below them, Coruscant glittered like a jewel, unaware that the fate of the Republic was being decided in whispered conversations and clandestine surgeries. 20 minutes per extraction if everything goes perfectly, Kix replied, his eyes never leaving the holographic brain scan projected above Rex's head. The chip is embedded deep in the frontal lobe, near the motor cortex. One wrong move, and I could leave them paralyzed. Or worse. Obi-Wan Kenobi stood by the viewport, his arms crossed, his mind reaching out through the Force to touch the swirling currents of destiny, converging on this moment. No pressure then, he said dryly, though his attempt at humor fell flat, even to his own ears. Ahsoka Tano, who had arrived at the medical frigate after Anakin's urgent summons, paced near the door, her montrals twitching with agitation. We should be helping Masters Windu and Yoda. If Palpatine really is Sidious, then two of the most powerful Jedi in the Order are confronting him as we speak. Anakin interrupted, his frustration evident, along with Kit Fisto and Aegon Kohler. For council members against one Sith Lord, if he even is a Sith Lord, we still don't have absolute proof. Anakin. Obi-Wan turned from the viewport, his blue eyes serious. I know Palpatine has been a mentor to you, a friend, but you saw the evidence Master T provided. The chips exist. The kill order exists. Whether we want to believe it or not. I saw files that could have been fabricated, Anakin shot back. I saw medical scans that could have been doctored. What I haven't seen is actual proof that the Chancellor of the Galactic Republic is a Sith Lord, who's orchestrated a 3-year war just to gain enough power to murder the Jedi. Then what do you think the chips are for? Ahsoka demanded, her hand gesturing toward Rex's exposed skullware. Kix was carefully maneuvering a microsurgical laser. Entertainment. Before Anakin could respond, the surgical laser made contact. A tiny organic mass, no larger than a grain of sand but pulsing with sickly bioluminescence, was extracted from Rex's brain tissue and deposited into a containment field. Kix immediately sealed the incision site with synthetic tissue and back to gel. His movements practiced despite his obvious distress. One down, the medic said quietly. General Skywalker, you should see this. Anakin approached the containment field, staring at the extracted chip. Through the Force, he could sense something wrong with it. A darkness. A wrongness that made his skin crawl. It wasn't just technology. It was designed to subvert, to control, to turn loyalty into murder at the flip of a switch. What is that? He whispered. It's a control chip, sir. Organic technology interfaced with neural tissue. When activated, it releases a cascade of neurotransmitters that override the clone's conscious decision-making. Kix's voice was hollow. Professional detachment barely masking deep trauma. We're not soldiers with this thing. We're droids with flesh. Weapons pointed at the Jedi, waiting for someone to pull the trigger. Anakin felt his stomach twist. He'd fought beside Rex and Cody for years. They weren't just soldiers. They were friends, brothers in arms. The idea that all that loyalty, all that camaraderie, could be erased with a single command. Begin Cody's extraction, Obi-Wan ordered gently. And Kix, thank you. What you're doing here, the courage it takes to help us, the Jedi will not forget. The medic nodded stiffly and began the second procedure. Minutes stretched like hours as the surgical laser worked its delicate task. Anakin found himself reaching out through the Force, sensing the vast network of clone troopers throughout the galaxy. Millions of bright points of light, each one carrying that same darkness in their skulls, dormant but deadly. Rex stirred on the table, consciousness returning. His eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharpening as awareness returned. General, his hand instinctively moved toward his head. What? Easy, Rex, Anakin said, placing a steadying hand on the captain's shoulder. The procedure was successful. The chip is out. Rex sat up slowly, his expression cycling through confusion, understanding, and then horror as memory returned. The chip. Order 66. We were going to. He looked at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. We were going to kill you. All of you. Not anymore, Ahsoka said firmly. You're free now. Both of you will be once Kix finishes with Cody. Rex's eyes found Kix, working frantically over Commander Cody's exposed brain. How many others know? Just us, Obi-Wan replied. And the Council. We're extracting chips from key commanders first, building a network of freed soldiers who can help us reach others. But Rex, we need your help. We need someone the clones trust to convince them that this is real, that we're not the enemy. The captain swung his legs off the surgical table, wincing as dizziness swept over him. How long do we have? That's the problem, Anakin admitted. We don't know. Palpatine called for Jedi protection after an alleged attack. Masters Windu, Fisto, Kohler, and Yoda went to his office 20 minutes ago. If he suspects we know about Order 66. An explosion rocked the medical frigate. Alarms screamed through the corridors as the ship listed violently to starboard. Anakin caught Rex before the captain could fall, while Obi-Wan used the Force to steady the surgical equipment around Cody's partially exposed brain. What was that? Ahsoka ignited her lightsabers, her combat instincts kicking in immediately. The comlink on Anakin's belt crackled to life. General Skywalker, this is the bridge. We're under attack by Republic fighters. Repeat, Republic fighters are firing on us. They're not responding to hails. Anakin's blood ran cold. He sprinted to the viewport and saw them, a squadron of ARC 170 starfighters bearing Republic markings, their laser cannons blazing as they strafed the medical frigate's shields. And beyond them, descending through Coruscant's atmosphere like birds of prey, came a full battalion of LAT gunships. No, he breathed. No, he couldn't have. He activated it, Obi-Wan said, his voice utterly calm in the way it only became in the worst crises. Palpatine activated Order 66. On the surgical table, Commander Cody's eyes snapped open. But they weren't the warm, intelligent eyes Obi-Wan had known for 3 years. They were cold, mechanical, empty of everything except one overriding directive. Kix barely managed to jump back as Cody's hand shot out, grabbing for the blaster at the medic's hip. Cody, no, Obi-Wan shouted. using the force to yank the blaster away. But Cody was already moving, his partially healed skull wound, bleeding as he launched himself off the table with desperate, programmed fury. Rex tackled his brother commander, both men crashing to the deck in a tangle of limbs. Cody, stop. It's the chip. Fight it. But Cody couldn't fight it. The biochip flooded his brain with commands, drowning out reason, friendship, loyalty, everything that made him human. His hands closed around Rex's throat, squeezing with methodical precision. Anakin moved on instinct, using the force to push Cody back without hurting him. The commander hit the far wall and slumped, unconscious. Kix was already moving, laser scalpel in hand. I can finish the extraction, but I need 60 seconds. You don't have 60 seconds, Ahsoka said from the doorway, her lightsabers casting dancing shadows across her face. Listen, through the ship's hull. They heard it, the sound of hundreds of boots marching in perfect unison. Clone troopers, moving through the corridors toward the medical bay. The same soldiers who had fought beside the Jedi for 3 years, now hunting them with programmed efficiency. Obi-Wan's comlink activated, and Master Yoda's voice emerged, strained, urgent, breaking with static. All Jedi, this is Emergency Code 13. The static betrayed us. Palpatine is Sith Lord. Order 66. Activated. Return to the temple, not trust the clones. Repeat, not trust. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only the hiss of dead air. Anakin stared at the comlink, his world fracturing around him. The Chancellor, the man who had guided him, advised him, been like a father to him, was Darth Sidious. And he had just activated a kill order that would hunt every Jedi in the galaxy. Master, Rex said quietly, his voice steady despite the chaos. What are your orders? Anakin looked at his captain, freed from the chip, still loyal by choice rather than programming. Then at Obi-Wan, his master and friend. At Ahsoka, his former Padawan who had become one of the finest warriors he knew. At Kix, risking everything to save his brothers from slavery. And at Cody, unconscious on the deck with half his skull still open, a slave to Sith machinations. The sound of marching boots grew closer. Blaster fire echoed through distant corridors as other Jedi aboard the medical frigate fought for their lives. Outside the viewport, Coruscant burned as Republic forces turned their guns on the temple. Everything he thought he knew was a lie. But some truths remained. His friends needed him. The Jedi needed him. The clones, the real clones, freed from their programming, needed him. Anakin Skywalker ignited his lightsaber, the blue blade casting everything in sharp relief. We fight, he said simply. We save who we can, we free who we can, and we stop Palpatine before he destroys everything the Republic was supposed to stand for. He looked at Rex. Starting with your brothers. We're going to need an army of our own. Rex retrieved his helmet, checking his DC-15 blaster pistol with practiced efficiency. Then let's go find one, sir. The door to the medical bay exploded inward. Clone troopers poured through the breach, their weapons raised, their eyes empty. And the battle for the Republic's soul truly began. The Chancellor's office atop the Senate building had always been a place of power, but now it revealed its true nature. A throne room for a Sith Lord. Mace Windu's purple. Lightsaber hummed as he advanced on Palpatine, flanked by Kit Fisto and Aegon Kohler. Behind them, the bodies of 2 Jedi Masters lay broken. C.C. Tyon had fallen in the first seconds of combat. His death so swift he'd barely ignited his blade. The sheer speed and ferocity of Palpatine's attack had shocked even Mace Windu. The man they'd known as Chancellor, pleasant, grandfatherly, weak, was gone. In his place stood a creature of pure malevolence, his face twisted with Sith lightning scars, his yellow eyes blazing with hatred that had festered for decades. You are under arrest, Chancellor, Mace Windu said, his voice iron-hard despite the sweat beading on his brow. The dark side energy radiating from Palpatine was suffocating, a pressure that made the Force itself scream in agony. I am the Senate. Palpatine shrieked, his lightsaber, a crimson blade of ancient Sith design, weaving patterns of death through the air. You will not take me. Kit Fisto lunged from the left, while Aegon Kohler attacked from the right, their coordination perfect from years of fighting side by side. But Palpatine moved like lightning given form, his blade intercepting both strikes simultaneously. while his free hand unleashed a torrent of force lightning that sent Aegon Kohler screaming through the viewport. The Zabrak Jedi plummeted 1,000 meters, his body disappearing into Coruscant's traffic lanes. "You Jedi are so predictable," Palpatine hissed, parrying Kit Fisto's desperate counterattack. "So bound by your codes, your restrictions, your pathetic morality. I have spent decades preparing for this moment. Did you truly think you could stop me?" Mace Windu channeled Vapad, letting himself ride the edge between light and dark, using Palpatine's own dark side energy against him. His purple blade became a blur, pressing the Sith Lord back toward the ruined viewport. "Your machinations end today, Sidious. The Jedi know about Order 66. We've already begun freeing the clones from your control." For just an instant, genuine surprise flickered across Palpatine's scarred features. Then his expression twisted into something even more terrible: calculation. His lightsaber disengaged as he raised both hands, and the entire office exploded with Sith lightning. Kit Fisto's scream was cut short as the electricity overwhelmed his nervous system. The Nautolan Jedi collapsed, smoke rising from his twitching form. Mace Windu caught the brunt of the attack on his lightsaber, using it as a conduit to redirect the lightning back at its source. But the sheer power was staggering. "You think you've won?" Palpatine snarled, his voice distorted by the crackling energy. "You think stopping Order 66 will save you? I have contingencies within contingencies. The 501st is already marching on your temple. The clones across the galaxy are executing Jedi as we speak. And you will die here, knowing you've failed." Mace Windu pushed forward, his blade inching closer to Palpatine's neck. "The 501st won't reach the temple. Master Yoda has." "Master Yoda is dead," Palpatine interrupted, his voice dripping with venom. "I felt his death through the Force moments ago." Kashyyyik's clone commander proved most efficient. The words struck Mace Windu like a physical blow. "Master Yoda dead? Impossible. The ancient Jedi Master was the most powerful of their order, the wisest, the..." Palpatine's moment of distraction was all Palpatine needed. The Sith Lord's hand shot out, and Mace felt the Force grip him like a vice, lifting him off his feet and hurling him across the office. He crashed through Palpatine's desk, the impact driving the air from his lungs. "Predictable," Palpatine repeated, advancing with measured steps. "You let emotion cloud your judgment. Yoda isn't dead yet, but he will be soon. As will you. As will every Jedi in the galaxy. The Sith will have their revenge, and the galaxy will know 1,000 years of darkness under my rule." Mace Windu struggled to his feet, his ribs screaming in protest. His lightsaber had been knocked from his grip, lying meters away near Kit Fisto's smoldering body. He reached out through the Force, trying to summon it, but Palpatine was faster. The Sith Lord raised his hand, and the purple blade flew into his grasp. "How poetic," Palpatine mused, holding Mace's own weapon. "Killed by your own lightsaber. The greatest duelist in the Jedi Order, brought low by the very weapon he wielded against evil." The irony is delicious. But Mace Windu hadn't survived countless battles by being predictable. His hand shot out, and the massive Senate podium, designed to display the Republic's flag, tore free from its moorings and hurtled toward Palpatine. The Sith Lord was forced to dodge, giving Mace the split second he needed to summon his lightsaber back to his hand. Their blades met with a thunderclap of energy. Purple and red light filled the ruined office, as two masters of the Force dueled with everything they had. Mace Windu channeled Vapad fully now, accepting the dark side's presence, using it, redirecting its power through the living conduit of combat. "You cannot win, Sidious," Mace said, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "Even if you kill me, the Jedi know the truth. The Senate will know the truth. Your empire dies before it's born." Palpatine's yellow eyes blazed. "The Senate will believe what I tell them to believe. I've had years to position my people, to cultivate loyalty, to ensure that when the moment came, the Republic would transform willingly into the Empire. The Jedi Council's coup attempt will be the justification I need. You've played right into my hands." "A coup?" Mace barked a harsh laugh, pressing his attack. "We came to arrest you for treason, not overthrow the government. And who will testify to that?" Palpatine countered, his blade weaving defensive patterns. "The Jedi you brought with you are dead. It's your word against mine." And I am beloved by the Senate, the people, the military. You are a relic of an ancient order that has grown too powerful, too arrogant. When I address the Senate, covered in wounds from your assassination attempt, they will grant me anything I ask, including the right to eliminate the Jedi Order permanently. Mace Windu realized with cold clarity that Palpatine was right. Even if he won this duel, even if he arrested Sidious, the political game was already lost. The Chancellor had spent years poisoning the Republic against the Jedi, sowing seeds of distrust. Without concrete proof of Palpatine's Sith identity, proof that couldn't be dismissed as Jedi fabrication, the Senate would never believe their accusations. Unless Mace's eyes fell on the office's recording equipment. Every conversation in the Chancellor's office was recorded for historical purposes. If he could just, looking for evidence? Palpatine's voice was mocking. You think I'd be foolish enough to leave proof of my true nature lying around? Those recordings have been encrypted, edited, and secured. By the time anyone could access them, you'll be dead and I'll control the narrative. Their blades locked, bringing them face to face. Mace could smell the ozone of dark side energy, could feel the rot of corruption that had festered at the Republic's heart for decades. You've lost, Jedi, Palpatine whispered. Not this battle, perhaps not even this duel, but the war. Order 66 was just the beginning. I've turned your own army against you. I've poisoned the Republic's institutions. I've corrupted your best and brightest. His grin was terrible. Young Skywalker will fall to the dark side before this day is done. And when he does, he'll lead the 501st into your temple and burn it to the ground from within. Anakin would never. Anakin is already mine, Palpatine interrupted. His fear of loss, his attachment to Senator Amidala, his desperation to save her from death, I've cultivated it all. And when he learns that the Jedi tried to kill his friend, his mentor, his father figure, he'll embrace the dark side to save the woman he loves. Just as I've planned. Mace Windu felt ice settle in his chest. Padme. Of course Palpatine knew about Anakin's secret marriage. The Sith Lord had known everything, seen everything, manipulated everything. You're lying, Mace said, but his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Palpatine disengaged his blade and took a step back, spreading his arms wide in invitation. Then strike me down. Kill me here, unarmed, in cold blood. Show young Skywalker what the Jedi truly are when their power is threatened. Or, his smile widened. Or arrest me. Take me before the Senate in chains. Watch as I turn your righteous action into evidence of Jedi treachery. Either way, you lose. Mace Windu stood at the precipice of destiny, his lightsaber humming in his hand. The fate of the Jedi Order balanced on the edge of his next decision. Below, through the shattered viewport, he could see Republic gunships converging on the temple. Turbo laser fire lanced through the evening sky. The Coruscant Guard, clone troopers, specifically conditioned for loyalty to the Chancellor, surrounded the building. In the distance, a massive explosion bloomed from the temple's meditation spire. Mace felt deaths ripple through the Force. Younglings, Padawans, masters who had remained behind to guard their home. The temple was burning. The Order was dying. And Palpatine was right. Even if Mace won this duel, the political game was already lost. Unless the Jedi changed the rules entirely. Mace Windu lowered his lightsaber slightly, his mind racing through possibilities. Contingencies, desperate gambles. You're wrong about one thing, Sidious. Oh, Palpatine's expression was amused, indulgent. The face of a predator playing with wounded prey. You think you've won because you've turned our army against us. Because you control the Senate. Because you've positioned yourself to rule the galaxy. Mace's voice hardened. But the Jedi Order has survived for 1,000 generations. We've outlasted empires, weathered dark ages, endured purges and persecutions. And we'll outlast you too. He triggered his comlink, broadcasting on an emergency frequency that would reach every surviving Jedi in the galaxy. This is Master Mace Windu. Order 66 has been activated. The Chancellor is Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith. Do not trust the clone troopers. Do not return to the temple. Scatter across the galaxy. Survive. Rebuild. The Jedi Order endures. Palpatine's amusement evaporated, replaced by pure rage. Fool. You think a few scattered survivors can stop what's coming? I'll hunt every last Jedi to extinction. Then you'll spend the rest of your life hunting, Mace replied. Because we know the truth now. We know about the chips. And every clone we free becomes an ally instead of an enemy. Every day you spend consolidating power is another day we spend building a resistance. You wanted to destroy the Jedi in a single night, Sidious. You failed, and that failure will cost you everything. Palpatine's scream of fury was inhuman. Sith lightning erupted from his hands with such intensity that it shattered the remaining windows, sending shards of transparasteel raining down on the plaza below. Mace Windu caught it on his blade, but the force drove him to his knees. Through the agony of holding back the lightning, Mace saw Senate guards burst through the door, loyal not to Palpatine, but to the Republic itself. Clone troopers followed, their helmets off, their eyes clear of the chip's programming. Captain Rex led them, his armor scorched from battle, his blaster trained on Palpatine. Chancellor, stand down. By order of the Galactic Senate and the Jedi Council, you're under arrest for high treason. Behind Rex came Anakin Skywalker, his expression torn between betrayal and resolve. His lightsaber ignited but uncertain where to point it. Palpatine's lightning intensified, and Mace Windu knew he had only seconds before his strength failed. Anakin, he managed through gritted teeth, help me. The young Jedi Knight stood frozen, the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders, forced to choose between the man who had been his mentor and the Order that had been his family. And in that moment of hesitation, the fate of the Republic hung in the balance. Anakin Skywalker had faced impossible choices before. He'd stood in the sand of Tatooine and chosen to leave his mother behind. He'd watched helplessly as she died in his arms. He'd been forced to choose between the Jedi Code and his love for Padme. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. On one side stood Mace Windu, driven to his knees by Sith lightning, the embodiment of everything the Jedi Order represented: discipline, duty, sacrifice. On the other stood Chancellor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, the man who had guided Anakin's career, who had listened when the Council dismissed him, who had promised him the power to save those he loved. Anakin, help me. Mace's voice cut through the chaos, raw with desperation. He's too powerful. I can't hold him. Don't listen to him, Anakin. Palpatine's voice was strained but insistent, his hands still channeling torrents of lightning. This is exactly what I warned you about. The Jedi are trying to take over. They came here to assassinate me, to murder a democratically elected leader. Is this what you want? Jedi tyranny. Behind Anakin, Rex's voice was steady, certain. General, I know this is hard, but I've seen the truth. The chip in my head, he put it there. He was going to make me kill you, Master Kenobi, Commander Tano. All of you. Everything you've been told is a lie. Anakin's lightsaber trembled in his hand. Through the Force, he could sense the darkness radiating from Palpatine. Undeniable. Overwhelming. Ancient. There was no mistaking it. The Chancellor was a Sith Lord. Everything Anakin had been taught about detecting the dark side, recognizing its corruption, screamed at him that this was the enemy. But his heart remembered years of kindness, of guidance, of understanding when no one else would offer it. The Jedi tried to kill me, Anakin, Palpatine continued, his voice taking on a pained quality even as his lightning intensified. Even now, Windu would strike me down without trial, without justice. Is that the order you swore to serve? One that murders in cold blood. You activated Order 66. Mace Windu shouted, his purple blade beginning to crack under the strain of redirecting so much energy. You tried to exterminate the entire Jedi Order. Thousands are dead because of you. Lies. Palpatine's face twisted with apparent anguish. I activated a contingency protocol to defend myself when the Jedi Council launched their coup. It was self-defense. Everything I've done has been to protect the Republic. Anakin reached out through the Force, past the lightning and shouting, past his own confusion and fear. He touched Palpatine's presence and recoiled. The darkness there was absolute, ancient, deliberately cultivated over decades. This wasn't a man defending himself. This was a predator who had been caught mid-feast and was now snarling at those who dared interrupt. And yet, he promised me power, Anakin said quietly, almost to himself. Power to save Padme, to prevent her death. Can you offer me that, Master Windu? Can the Jedi Code save the woman I love? Mace Windu's eyes met Anakin's, and for perhaps the first time, The stern Jedi Master showed genuine compassion. I don't know, Anakin. The future is always in motion. But I know this. The dark side doesn't save lives. It only devours them. Palpatine isn't offering you power to save Padme. He's manipulating your fear to gain your service. He's been doing it for years. Your wife will die. Anakin, Palpatine interjected, his voice silky despite the combat. I've seen it. In childbirth. You'll lose her just as you lost your mother. Helpless, watching her slip away. The Jedi can't help you. Their precious code forbids the very attachments that make us human. But I can teach you to save her. To cheat death itself. Join me, and I'll show you power beyond imagining. Anakin's breath came in ragged gasps. His nightmares of Padme's death had haunted him for weeks, growing more vivid, more certain. Every instinct screamed at him to do whatever it took to prevent that future. But then he looked at Rex, loyal Rex, who had fought beside him for 3 years, who had been enslaved by a chip in his brain designed to make him murder his friends. He looked at the freed clone troopers standing in the doorway, their eyes clear for the first time since their creation. He thought of Commander Cody, still fighting the chip's influence aboard the medical frigate, struggling to break free of Sith programming. You enslaved them, Anakin said, his voice hardening. The clones, my men. You made them weapons pointed at the people they love. You made them slaves. Palpatine's expression flickered, just for an instant, with annoyance. They're soldiers, Anakin. Tools of war. What does it matter how they're controlled? It matters because they're people. Anakin's shout echoed through the ruined office. They have names, personalities, dreams. Rex isn't a tool, he's my friend. And you were going to make him kill me. I was going to bring peace to the galaxy. Palpatine roared, his composure finally cracking. Order through strength. No more war, no more chaos, no more weak Senate committees arguing while systems burn. The empire I would create would be built on slavery and murder. Anakin finished, his voice cold with certainty. I know what slavery looks like, Chancellor. I was born into it, and I swore I'd never let it happen to anyone else if I could prevent it. He looked at Mace Windu, then back to Palpatine. The Jedi Code may be flawed. It may be too restrictive, too detached, but at least it doesn't turn people into puppets. Anakin Skywalker made his choice. His blue lightsaber swept up, intercepting Palpatine's lightning alongside Mace Windu's purple blade. The combined power of 2 Jedi Masters redirected the Sith Lord's attack back at its source. Palpatine screamed as his own lightning consumed him, his body convulsing, his face melting further into a mask of corruption and hatred. But even as he fell, his yellow eyes locked on Anakin with pure venom. You will regret this, Palpatine hissed. Your wife will die. Your children will never know their father. The galaxy will burn because you were too weak to do what was necessary. No, Anakin said firmly, standing over the fallen Sith Lord. The galaxy will survive because we chose compassion over fear, light over darkness. And Padme. He thought of his wife, pregnant with twins he didn't yet know about, waiting for him in their apartment. Padme will live because I choose to have faith instead of giving in to my nightmares. Rex stepped forward, stun cuffs in hand. It's over, Palpatine. You're going to stand trial for your crimes. But Palpatine was far from finished. Even burned and weakened, the Dark Lord of the Sith retained enough power for one final gambit. His hand shot out, and the entire office building shuddered as he pulled on the Force with catastrophic intensity. If I cannot rule, Palpatine rasped, then let the Republic die with me. The building began to collapse. Structural supports groaned as the Sith Lord ripped them apart with his dying strength. Warning alarms blared throughout the Senate district as one of Coruscant's tallest structures started its fatal descent. Get out, Mace Windu shouted, already running for the exit. Everyone evacuate now. Anakin grabbed Rex, using the Force to propel them toward the doorway. Behind them, Palpatine's laughter echoed through the collapsing office. Mad, triumphant, defiant to the end. The freed clone troopers scattered, making for emergency exits and turbolifts. Through the Force, Anakin could feel thousands of civilians in the lower levels, unaware that death was falling toward them from above. He made a decision that would define his legacy. Master Windu, get everyone out. Anakin released Rex and turned back toward the collapsing building. I'll hold it up as long as I can. Anakin, no. You'll be killed, and thousands will die if I don't try. Anakin spread his hands, reaching out through the Force to embrace the entire massive structure. He felt every girder, every support beam, every failing connection, and he pulled, channeling every ounce of his considerable power into holding the building together for just a few more precious seconds. The weight was impossible. Sweat poured down his face as he felt his muscles tear, his bones creak, his mind pushed past any reasonable limit. But below, he sensed the evacuations proceeding, civilians pouring into the streets, clone troopers ushering them to safety, emergency services responding to the crisis. Just a few more seconds. Just a few more. Anakin, let go. Obi-Wan's voice came through his comlink, transmitted from the medical frigate now descending toward the Senate building. We're directly above you. Jump, and we'll catch you. Anakin looked up and saw the Restoration hovering impossibly close. Its hangar bay doors open, Ahsoka leaning out with a cable harness. Behind her, he could see freed clone troopers manning the controls. No longer slaves to Sith programming, but allies who chose their loyalty. He released the building and leaped, the Force carrying him up through the collapsing structure. Debris fell around him like rain, but his focus was absolute. Just as the Senate building's top 100 floors began their final descent, Anakin caught the cable Ahsoka threw him. Strong hands pulled him into the hangar bay. Rex, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and dozens of freed clones working together. Through the closing hangar doors, Anakin watched Palpatine's headquarters collapse into rubble, burying the Sith Lord's body beneath tons of durasteel and transparasteel. Is he dead? Ahsoka asked, her voice tight with tension. Mace Windu, who had made it aboard moments before Anakin, reached out through the Force. For a long moment, he was silent. Then he nodded slowly. His presence has faded from the Force. Darth Sidious is gone. A cheer erupted from the freed clone troopers. But Anakin felt no joy, only exhaustion and grim determination. What about the rest of the clones? How many are still under the chip's control? Approximately 60%, Obi-Wan replied grimly. But Master T has transmitted the chip removal procedures to every Jedi still alive. Across the galaxy, our forces are fighting to free their men while defending against those still compromised. And the temple? Anakin's voice was hollow, already knowing the answer. Heavily damaged. Many casualties. Mace Windu's expression was stone, but not destroyed. The younglings were evacuated to emergency shelters. Most of the council survived. The Order endures, Skywalker, because of your choice here today. Anakin thought about that choice. How close he'd come to embracing the darkness, to betraying everything he believed in out of fear. Palpatine had been right about one thing. The Jedi Code was flawed, too restrictive, too detached from the very humanity it claimed to protect. But the Sith alternative, slavery, manipulation, absolute power built on fear and suffering, was infinitely worse. We need to address the Senate, Anakin said, his voice gaining strength. Tell them what really happened here. Show them the evidence of the chips, the conspiracy, everything. If we don't control the narrative, Palpatine's supporters will claim this was a coup. Agreed, Mace Windu said. But first, we need to secure the planet. There are still hundreds of thousands of compromised clones on Coruscant. Until we can free them, we're fighting a civil war. Rex stepped forward, his voice steady with purpose. Then let's end it. My brothers deserve to be free. All of them. And I'll fight for as long as it takes to make that happen. Anakin looked at his captain, freed from slavery, choosing his own path, standing with the Jedi not because a chip commanded him, but because his heart demanded it. And in that moment, Anakin understood what the future could be. Not the dark empire of Palpatine's nightmares, where power crushed all opposition. Not even the detached republic of the Jedi's ideals, where emotion was suppressed in favor of duty. But something new, something balanced. A galaxy where clone troopers were recognized as citizens with rights, where Jedi could form attachments without shame, where democracy was protected not by emergency powers and ancient orders, but by people choosing to do what was right. It would take years to build. Decades, perhaps. The road ahead would be bloody and uncertain. But for the first time since his nightmares of Padmé's death began, Anakin Skywalker felt hope. Then let's get to work, he said, looking out at the Coruscant skyline where dawn was beginning to break. We've got a republic to save. The war that followed Palpatine's death was unlike any the galaxy had seen. It wasn't fought between the Republic and Separatists, or even between Jedi and Sith. It was a war for the very soul of the clone troopers, fought one chip, extraction at a time, one freed soldier at a time, one choice at a time. Anakin Skywalker became the face of that war, working tirelessly alongside Rex, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan to liberate the men who had fought beside them for 3 years. Master Windu rebuilt the Jedi Council, this time with reforms that acknowledged the Order's failures and created space for attachment, emotion, and the messy reality of being both guardians and individuals. Padme Amidala gave birth to twins, Luke and Leia, in a galaxy that was broken but healing. She would raise them in a republic that was learning painful lessons about the cost of giving power to one man, no matter how benevolent he seemed. The separatist movement collapsed without Sidious manipulating both sides. Count Dooku, captured on Invisible Hand, revealed much about the Sith's grand plan before taking his own life rather than face trial. Order 66 was deleted not just from clone programming, but from the Republic's contingency protocols. In its place came the Clone Rights Act, granting full citizenship to every soldier and establishing deprogramming centers across the galaxy. Many clones chose to remain soldiers, but now as free citizens defending democracy by choice. Others became farmers, mechanics, teachers, living the lives that had been stolen from them. The Jedi Temple stood scarred but unbroken, a monument to resilience. On its walls, they inscribed the names of those who fell during Order 60 SIX's partial activation, a reminder that vigilance against tyranny requires constant effort, and that even the most noble institutions can be corrupted from within. And on Kamino, Master Shak Ti looked out at the endless rain and allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy had come within hours of total catastrophe, but a clone medic's courage and a Jedi Master's willingness to listen had changed everything. The Sith's revenge had failed. The Republic endured, and in the years to come, the galaxy would build something better than what came before. Not perfect, never perfect, but always striving toward the light. Because in the end, that's what defined the Jedi, not perfection, but the choice to keep trying even when darkness seemed inevitable. The Force would be with them, always.